All right, so officially welcome everyone. Nice shares, thank you for that. I'm going to go into today's teachings, have a look at the quote and some teaching around that, and then into the lesson. And I thought we'd do the 8th pathway today. So give me a moment. Get my check ready. Okay, and let's just share my screen. There we go. And okay. All right. So share my screen. Now, can everyone see that?
Yeah.
So nice quote from Eckhart Tolle. Who wants to read that?
Yeah. The realm of consciousness is much vaster than thought can grasp. When you no longer believe everything you think, you step out of thought and see clearly that the thinker is not who you really are.
Great quote. This is very related to our course lesson for today. So the thinker isn't who you really are. It reminds you that you are not the thinker or the thoughts you think, but you are unconditioned, infinite consciousness. The Yeshua calls spirit. So that leads us to the idea of consciousness. We talked about this the other night. If you recall, in one of the evening sessions, John asked about consciousness. There's some guidance on the matter in the text, as you would expect, in various parts. So you can go check those parts out. Section 2 of chapter 1. There's some teaching about it. Section 4 of chapter 3. If the links are there, and the clarification of terms as well. So I just amalgamated all of that into one long paragraph, really. So ask someone else to read that. Sally or Christine or Susie, anyone read that paragraph?
I will. Or do you want to? Go on, Susie. You start.
You do it. It's all right.
Consciousness is the state that induces action, though it does not inspire it. Consciousness, the level of perception, was the first split introduced into the mind after the separation, making the mind a perceiver rather than a creator. Consciousness is correctly identified as the domain of the ego. Consciousness is the receptive mechanism, receiving messages from above or below, from the Holy Spirit or the ego. Consciousness has levels of awareness and can shift quite dramatically. Certainly can, but it cannot transcend the perceptual realm. At its highest, it becomes aware of the real world and can be trained to do so increasingly. Yet the very fact that it has levels and can be trained demonstrates that it cannot reach knowledge.
Okay, so quite a bit in there. We'll unpack that. Consciousness is a state that induces action. It does not inspire. John asked about that. He wasn't quite sure, but what do you think that one means?
I did find that I'm so glad that I could only watch 20 minutes of it, but I was quite confused by consciousness. So I was glad that John had asked you, so I listened to 20 minutes of it.
Well, so I post these, Sally, I said, you can't do ever. No, they're resources. If you want to listen, you dip in and listen. If not, then you don't have to. It's there if you want.
Now. I did the lesson. I'm fine now. Yeah.
So consciousness is a state that induces action,
So it's
It does not inspire it.
ego makes us do the action, but it's not
Mhm.
from the wholeness, the truth.
Let's have a look at our. Yeah. So our consciousness, remember the ego is consciousness. As by this definition, it's the domain of the ego, the idea of a separate self. The idea of separation and consciousness are the same. And that's useful to know. You're in a thought system. The consciousness, universal consciousness, is then the thought system of the ego, which has invented this whole crazy dream, projected it out, and now we have the seeming manifest physical universe in the world. So we're in the domain of consciousness. It's a thought system which has become, an apparent reality. It's always worth remembering that. And John had forgotten, oh, okay, consciousness is actually of the ego, as he's defined. So consciousness can induce action. So this thought system induces lots of action. We do many, many things within the dream to try and help ourselves, free ourselves, escape the apparent punishment we think is coming to us. So consciousness will induce action, but it does not inspire it because it's not coming from the spirit. Okay, so the spirit, Holy Spirit, is a remembrance of perfect love, which is this other world, other dimension, reality that's completely outside of consciousness. The spirit comes from outside of this domain of consciousness, and it reinterprets the dream, changes our perception, and inspires action. So it will then inspire us to speak and act in certain ways in response to the dream. So he's making a clear distinction between the two thought systems. Consciousness can induce action, and you can be motivated to do various things. And the world is a world of form and action. So we can see that. But if it's coming from consciousness, then even if it's so-called higher consciousness, if it's still the idea of separation is in there, then it's still the ego, and it's not going to free you. So the idea of higher consciousness, oh, well, I'm one with the universal mind and I can manifest anything I want, that's still not going to free you. We talked about manifestation just now, conscious manifestation. At the highest level, okay, you could become a super manifester, win contests, get whatever you want, but you're still within the domain of the ego. In that, you're still buying into the program, you're using it to get what you think you want, but actually what's blocked from you still would be this awareness. You haven't transcended it. Whereas the Holy Spirit is trying to help you to transcend it entirely and leave the dream entirely, leave consciousness behind.
But if you're aware if it's a dream, you could play with it, because we've both cleared on being lucky now.
Yeah.
And then when you get lucky, you're in love, aren't you? You're in that energy of total awareness. Great fun.
Yeah. But the difference is, okay, so here's the key. Don't get attached to the form outcome. Because if you're attached to this, oh, well, I'd like to win that because that would be nice, whatever. I'd like a new car or a trip to Paris. And there's a desire, there's an expectation, then you are still falsely valuing the illusion. And you're thinking that when your desire is met, then you're going to be in a happier state. So it's still outside in rather than inside out. Whereas if you say the true prayer, the miracle worker, is bring me whatever I need to awaken. That's the true prayer. Whatever I need. I don't know what I need. The truth is I don't know what I need to awaken. So then I'm giving charge of my life over to the Holy Spirit to do what it wills. And that may mean I've got to go through some difficulty. I wouldn't consciously choose the difficulty, but then that's what's necessary for me to awaken. So it's a different level of intention. There's a guy called Adyashanti, who's a spiritual teacher in the US. And he said at the age of 25, he was sitting on a bus stop and something just came to me. He'd been on a spiritual path for many years. And he said, okay, whatever it takes for me to become enlightened, bring it to me. That was his kind of intention, prayer to the universe. And he said that kicked off a process. 7 years, he said, I went through such difficulty, so many, extremely challenging, difficult life situations for the next 7 years, which was then the undoing of his ego. And he had to get through all of that to, to become enlightened, or far more enlightened. I'm not sure if he's the finished article yet, but that was his process. So he wasn't asking to win contests or play, and he just said, whatever I need, bring it to me. And he got a lot of difficult situations because they were needed to undo his ego. So that's the courageous prayer, really. Whatever I need to awaken, as fast as I can, bring that to me. And I don't know what that looks like, but I'm open to the guidance. Yeah, does that help, Sally? That's the prayer of the miracle worker.
It's quite scary, isn't it? Like, whatever it takes, bring it on. Oh,
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah. Well, but is it really? Because that's gonna free you. That's the fastest track to freedom if you do that, you see. So
Well,
is that scary?
I don't want fast track. Perhaps I like slow track.
Okay. Yeah. But then the slow track, you're actually saying I want to still have some suffering and I still want to have some pain.
Perhaps we've already undone our egos, and it's just a case of us realizing we have already done it.
Yeah. I mean, at 1 minute is a done deal. He's saying to us, there's a guarantee that you'll ultimately be successful, but in time there's this process going on. That it seems to unfold in time, that there's these corrections that need to happen. So you've already done it, but paradoxically, you've still got to do it. That's the paradox of it.
We release the belief that we have to do it, and just we've done it.
Well, we've done it, and then you go, okay, but something crops up again, and I feel that resistance or that negativity. Then you haven't done it. In your experience, you're not fully in pure formless awareness. So the way to resolve that paradox is just moment by moment, just collapse it, whatever arises. Just, then you're in the now. You're not in past, future. Like right now, I let it go. So right now, when I let go of something that's arising, let's say negative, then I'm doing it. I've done it. Right now, I've done it. Okay, I'm in that state of, at 1 minute then, when I've done it. And if I keep doing that, I collapse the time gap. There's no gap anymore if I keep doing that. From now to the end of time, I'm shortening that and collapsing that systematically with the miracles, which is why he talks about the time collapse factor of miracles. So that that's what we're doing. So just rather than going, well, I've done it or I haven't done it, or you go, well, I'm just very present, and if things arise, if something comes up that isn't of love, isn't of pure formless awareness, then I need to let it go. That's all. And when I've let it go, then I'm in a state of at-one-ment again. Nothing more than that's needed. It's very simple.
But when you're present, there's nothing to clear, is there? In the present moment, you're clear.
Yeah, if you're just sitting in awareness and you're present and there's no thoughts arising, nothing to clear, you just free floating awareness. It feels good. Nothing to clear. I'm just in my awareness. That's the enlightened state. You can stay there. But then something comes in, another thought comes in. A situation happens. It triggers a thought. Emotion arises. You're aware of it. Oh, okay. So now there's a little obstruction or big obstruction. Something obscures that awareness. Okay. Well, then all I can do is let it go and return my mind to that awareness.
So I've just had a thought. I've just had a thought pop in that the about bringing it on, bring me all I need to awaken. The fear that I feel when you say that is ego, isn't it? So that's the option. So there's nothing to fear. There's absolutely nothing to fear about saying bring it on, because there's nothing. It's just
what you're going to do is you're going to accelerate your journey. So whatever experiences you need to have to awaken, you're going to need to have. So whatever difficulties, challenges, that's part of the journey. What you're saying with that prayer, bring it on, is okay, I'm ready. Let's not delay in time anymore. Which, if you recall, was one of his teachings in one of the recent text lessons. He says, you can temporize, you can delay, you can deny the truth. You're capable of that. But if you're waking up, you realize that there's no point to that. Was it in this last one, or was it the previous one? I think it might have been the previous one. It's only a matter of time. There we go. So in our last, I'm not sure if you were here when we did this part, but read the alternative from number 3.
The
There's a couple of sentences there.
the acceptance of the one at one-ment by everyone is only a matter of time. This may appear to contradict free will because of the inevitability of the final decision, but this is not so. You can avoid making a decision of committing yourself to at one-ment in order to stay in time, and you are capable of enormous procrastination, but you cannot depart entirely from your soul, which set the limits on your ability to miscreate. Yeah, I was in the session. It was confusing.
So does it make more sense now? He's saying, yeah, okay, so you remember, you have the choice when you want to learn this. So you can decide, no, I don't want to learn it. I can procrastinate. I can avoid committing myself to that one-ment. But in the end, we're all going to one-ment because that's the truth. So why not just accept that? He's saying, well, eventually everyone begins to recognize how dimly there must be a better way. He's saying, well, more delaying just creates more pain for me. So why would I choose pain? That's not clever. That's actually the path to be. If I was going to fear something, that would be what I should fear, because I'm stuck in time, guaranteed to keep having pain. So, but the ego says no. Fear the rapid awakening. Bring it on. Oh my God, no, we don't want that, because somehow it thinks it's going to be safe in an upside down thought system that is guaranteed to produce pain, suffering, sickness, and death. Well, that doesn't make any sense, does it? So the prayer, bring it on. Okay, I don't want to delay anymore. Here's the miracle worker's prayer. Bring me whatever I need to awaken, because that's going to save me a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of time wasted in the dream. And there's really nothing to be scared of, because I'm just learning my lessons more quickly, and I'm going into, total peace, joy, and bliss. So that's not something to be scared of. That's something to be welcomed and embraced. So, and this will just get me there quicker.
Yeah, I just think I had a fear that it would be like a whole load of ego illusion stuff would kind of appear.
Well,
rather
maybe it will.
life.
Maybe it will, but then that's what you would need to awaken. So that's okay. You would need to overcome those blocks to free your mind. So why not get it over with instead of running away? In the Matrix, Morpheus says to Neo, you must face the ego. You can't run away forever. Someone has to face them. They hold all the keys, they hold the doors. So you must face the guardians of the thought system, which is in your own mind, and that's the Matrix is the ego's defense mechanism. So okay, bring it on. Whatever I need to experience, bring it on. I'm not scared, because this is actually going to save me a lot of time, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and this is what I choose. Now that's way beyond conscious manifestation, isn't it? It's way beyond winning prizes, or just saying whatever. I don't know what it is I need. I don't know, whether I need to. If I need to win a trip to Paris, then I want a trip to Paris. If that's my experience that I need. But if I need to go through some difficulty and challenges to awaken, then okay, bring that on, because I need to then I need the experience to undo it. Yeah,
okay, I'm seeing it differently now.
Yeah. So So, and I think in the previous lesson he says, well, that you realize that procrastination is just unnecessary pain. It just brings you more pain because you're delaying in a thought system that is futile and pointless and is inevitably going to bring you pain and suffering. So when you realize that, why would you do that? You would just want to be done with it. And your prayer would then be, okay, I don't know exactly how this is all going to look and work because it's not up to me, but the Holy Spirit does. So bring me whatever experiences I need to do this. And you asked about surrender a while ago, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, this speaks directly to that, doesn't it? Okay, I'm not in charge of my journey anymore. I'm not consciously manifesting it, directing it. I don't know anymore what is good for me, but I know the Spirit does. So bring it on. Whatever experiences I need, bring them, and then give me the courage and the awareness to deal with whatever it is that's coming in this way that I've now been trained to do.
It's just when you say bring it on, sounds like you're asking for a fight. And I'd rather it not to be a fight.
Well, bring on whatever experiences I need to have, So it may seem like there's a conflict, or it may seem like there's a resistance, because that's the projection that you need to see it, to see the ego. So no, it's not. But I mean, really, what you're confronting is the ego. That's what you're confronting. Okay, well, bring it on. Show me my stuff that I can see it clearly so that I can let it go. So then you're saying, well, accelerate this projection perception mechanism that's the ego's been used to enslave me. Bring everything that I need on so that I can see it, as it really is, and I can let it go. And I can free my mind.
Gently.
And there's a kind of there's a courage in that. There's courage. You're saying, okay, I'm not scared anymore. I want to do this. I'm not going to back away. I'm not going to procrastinate. I'm not going to try and make myself more comfortable by inappropriate means in the dream. I'm just asking for the ultimate. Bring on my awakening now. As quickly as possible. I'm not going to delay this any further. And that's the hero's prayer. That's the what will take you on your hero's journey. Really, with the greatest speed. It's an accelerator. So maybe, maybe some work, just go, okay, let me commit to that. Bring it on, whatever I need. I don't know what I need, but that's the surrender, because the Holy Spirit knows what it knows your plan. That's what he's saying to us. You don't know the way to do your own enlightenment, because then that's your ego trying to take charge. And of course it doesn't know the way. It's going to try and sidetrack you. If you truly surrender, you say, I don't know anymore. I'm not in control of my life. I don't know what is good for me. Just, bring whatever I need. And that may be very, lovely experiences, beneficial. And then you may get some huge challenges, because that's what you need.
My heart pounding right now.
Is it?
Yeah, interesting.
Just taking it to another level.
Yeah, it has.
Nothing to be scared of, really, because with the tools, you've done the mind training, with the tools, you've been prepared for this. So it's like, okay, bring on whatever. Remember, Neo had to go through his training first before he was ready to face the ego in the form of the agent, Smith. He had to have training. He was prepared. So you've had the training, you've got the tools, you know how to combat it, if you want to use those tools. You know how to counter the ego. You've got all the mind training tools. So what are you scared of? And he had to face Smith in order to awaken to his true power. That was the test. In order to come to know himself, my name is Neo. He claims his power, his true identity, and then he literally casts him off his back, and he throws off the ego. But he had to have the experience in order to do that. That was his fast track to awakening. So exactly the experiences that he had to have. He wouldn't have chosen, oh my God, everything went wrong. Morpheus has got captured. He's about to die. I've got to go and face face the agents and face, you know, the all the projections in the form of the army and the police and risk my life. He wouldn't have chosen that consciously, but that's what was needed, you know, for his awakening. So that's what he had to do. And then he surrendered to it. He said, okay, you know, I'm up for this. I'll go with this. And I'll trust that, okay, I'm not scared anymore of dying. I'll trust that, you know, there's something more, you know, the oracle had given him the clue, and he said, okay, there's something more here. There's something happening. I'm going to trust this, that this is actually possible.
Okay, I'm up for it.
All right, good.
Yay, Sally, yay.
Well, that's a massive decision. I'm up for it. Okay, bring it on. All right, whatever. The fastest
Well, come
track to
on board.
Fastest track to my enlightenment. It's like, okay, no holding back. Take off all the shackles, all the fetters, all the doubts, the fears. Say, okay, you know, I'm up for this. And then accordingly, the power to do it will be given you, you see. So there's a total trust in this the power of God, which is your own true awareness. And it's like, okay, whatever experiences I have, there is a way. I will be given the way. So did you see it? It's another level of faith. I will be given whatever I need in the moment, and I'm trusting that I'm not alone. I will be given the guidance. I'll be given the support. So why am I scared? If God goes with me wherever I go, this ultimate infinite power, where there's no order of difficulty, miracles. Why would I be with exactly the right words and thoughts and actions? And it's going to unfold the dream for me, for my my ultimate, you know, at one moment, which is what I truly want, and that's nothing to be scared of. There, it's perfect peace, perfect joy, perfect bliss for eternity. Why would I resist that? Okay, so let's go back to consciousness, the level of perception. The first split introduced into the mind after the separation, making the mind a perceiver rather than a creator. So you look at that first split, you have an idea of separation, and now what you have is the idea that this is true. Consciousness is the belief that separation is true and real, and there is now some kind of an entity, an identity going on in the mind. That's the first level of the split that he's talking about. So it's the top level here, because the thought of separation would not have been a problem if we hadn't believed it. We hadn't desired and wanted it. Well, no, just a crazy idea. Forget it. Go back here. You know, no problem. It was never real. But we made it real. We desired it. We believed it. We made it into a consciousness, and then it projected out into this whole crazy thought system that we've got caught up in. So it's you know, it's pointing us. It's great, you know, to have the diagram, because you can reference from the diagram to the words and see what he's talking about. So making the mind was the first split, making the mind a perceiver rather than a creator. So the moment we did that and we split, we became a perceiver rather than a creator. So remember, creator means that we are at one with our source. We're in our being. Now we split away from that, and now the mind perceives from a separate point of view. We have a perception that I'm a separate person, and we perceive things outside of us, and we interpret it from our separated point of view. So it's made us into something that we're not, you know, perceiver rather than this eternally creative being where we're just resting in our own true awareness. So consciousness is correctly identified as the domain of the ego. So he's being very clear. It's the domain of the ego. This is the way he uses this term. Other people, like you know, David Hawkins in the this map of consciousness. Where are we? Somewhere here. Somewhere here. Somewhere here. Where are we? Find it. Map of consciousness. Map of consciousness is there. He talks about pure consciousness. What he really means in course terms would be pure awareness. But he's using consciousness, synonymously with awareness. If you're still, in consciousness, then there's still the level of the split. You still haven't completely let go. Maybe at 700, you would be in consciousness, and then at 1,000, you would be at enlightenment. It would be like you've gone into pure formless awareness at the top level. So just be aware that the term is used in other teachings to denote maybe what we would call awareness, pure formless awareness. But we stick to the terminology in the course so that we're clear. Okay, well, this is our terminology. Then we've got clear language to describe. Okay, consciousness is not of the ego. Consciousness is still a belief in separation going on in your mind. You still think you're something separate from everyone else and everything else, and you haven't fully merged your mind into the one awareness. Okay, and then consciousness is a receptive mechanism, receiving messages from above or below, from the Holy Spirit of the ego. So now you can receive into your awareness these messages, either the Holy Spirit, which is the remembrance of perfect love, or the ego, the belief in separation, can come in. And so you have the split, apparently two choices in consciousness. So the domain of duality. So there's levels, and awareness can shift quite dramatically. It cannot transcend the perceptual realm. Okay, so it has levels. See that very clearly. The levels of consciousness. There's various systems like this that talk about different levels of mind consciousness. So that's still within the domain of the ego. There are no levels in pure formless awareness. It's perfect oneness. By definition, no levels exist. So you're still in the domain of consciousness if you have a map like this, a model like this. But the model can be useful because it can point you out of the levels and to the transcendent state of pure formless awareness, which is the only real value of the model. Consciousness levels, awareness can shift quite dramatically, but it cannot transcend the perceptual realm. So consciousness, as long as you're still in consciousness, you're still in perception. That's what he's saying. Whereas awareness, pure formless awareness, you transcend the perceptual realm, you would go into a revelatory state, and the perception would disappear. At its highest, it becomes aware of the real world, can be drained to do so increasingly. Okay, so your mind becoming aware of the real world, which is the reinterpreted world. Go back here to the diagram. When we reinterpret the ego's dream from the perspective of pure formless awareness, which is the Holy Spirit's function, then we become aware of the real world. So now there's a reinterpretation going on, and that's happening in our consciousness. So our consciousness would be rising up to the point where eventually we would go, okay, I see through the whole thing. I see that really consciousness in its entirety is not true. And that the entire thought of separation and the thought system that it led to is not true, it's false. And so I accept this pure formless awareness of perfect love completely. And when I've accepted it completely, that's the at-one-ment that's done. I'm then perfectly at one. Does that make sense? The very fact that it has levels and can be trained demonstrates that it cannot reach knowledge. Okay? You're saying you'll never reach knowledge in consciousness, because consciousness is the denial of knowledge. It's still the idea of separation is there, and separation denies knowledge. So when people say, well, I've reached higher consciousness and that's the ultimate goal, no, that's another stepping stone. You get there, that can be useful, but then you've got to go beyond that into pure formless awareness, which is what Yeshua understood. I think he was the first person to fully get that and experience it and live it. And that's why he's in charge of the at-one-ment, because he understood that process fully. And he understands the distinction between this and this. He's going, just going into higher consciousness, the consciousness that you're one with the universe, or the universal mind, this could also be called universal mind, will not free you. You must go outside of that entire thought system to be free. And that was his spiritual insight, and that's what he's teaching us. So a lot of other paths, it's about raising your consciousness, but then they go, that's it. You get to higher consciousness, and that's the end. And you still in form. There's still, the world's still there. They don't tell you the universe is going to disappear. This takes it to the ultimate level.
So when you're in the blue circle, you can still perceive life, interact, do all the usual stuff, but you're just seeing it from, you're feeling love and you're in the oneness. Well,
if you're fully immersed in the blue circle in pure formless awareness, then no, it's a revelatory state. You wouldn't be interacting. You're beyond perception. What we're talking about here is you're on the line. You're the Holy Spirit is guiding your the Holy Spirit reinterpreting the dream for you. So he's saying to us, he's training us to do this. To say, okay, well, that this state will come when you're ready. God takes the final step. This will come. You might have glimpses of it, like go into some revelatory states for a while. But while you seem to, be a body and be human, the miracle is more useful. The reinterpretation of the dream experiences is more useful to you. So you can interact, you can engage, you can perceive, but you perceive correctly. You don't misperceive. You perceive from the perspective of perfect oneness, which heals your mind and keeps you connected to your true awareness. So now that awareness is coming through your mind and experiencing the world through you.
So when I was having my oneness experience, where there was no body, no senses, no emotions and everything, I was in the blue circle for a little while, and then I came out. Okay. Yeah.
So that's revelation. This is what he calls revelation, the state of grace. It's beyond time. It's an experience of the end result, the final state of at-one-ment. You had a taste of it because you went in there for a while. Like, wow, okay, I'm just no perception. There was no time. There was no space, no bodies, no form. It all just drops away, and you're just experiencing the truth. Now you're back in time. You're being asked to apply this into your perceptual world and reinterpret everything that you perceive from that perspective, which is the miracle when you do that, which corrects your mind systematically and progressively, and will prepare your mind for that experience eternally, so that your mind has accepted this, and you can just surrender into that. You can lay the body aside once and for all, and you can be quite content in just resting in pure formless awareness forever. And your experiences in the world are preparing you for that ultimate state of that one-ment. Okay, making sense?
Loads more sense. Thank you.
So you start to see then, okay, that what he's teaching and where we at. Dreams. Okay, well, you're in perception. Then you the best you can do in perception is miracles. The corrections. You can keep making these corrections, which strengthens the blue arrow. It takes your mind back into that more and more. So you start identifying more and more with your Christ self, which is still able to perceive, but knows that it's one with its source. So the Christ is like the bridge here, sits there. Which will then take you back into this, into identifying purely with this awareness. God. So God, pure formless awareness of perfect love, Christ, the one self, which then perceives, and that corrected perception is the Holy Spirit's function. So it's an operating system for your life to help you to reinterpret, to get out of the matrix and restore your mind perfectly to this ultimately. While you're here, well, you can have a happy dream. That's okay. You can reinterpret stuff. Nothing really needs to phase you. You don't need to experience the pain and the suffering that the ego wants to engender. It can be a very happy, peaceful dream. If experiences come up that challenge you, then you let them go, and you do the correction. So there's nothing really to be scared of. It's the only thought system that makes any sense. Because if you stay here and you say, no, I'm going to delay that because I'll be safer in time. I mean, God, look at what goes on here. This is not a safe place. In case you hadn't realized that already. With all this stuff kicking off, guilt and sin and fear and attack and accusation, blame, and all the stuff kicking off. It's not a safe place to be if you believe in it.
But in my life, I don't really get much of that. Or I shouldn't say that too loud, should I? But I don't really get a lot of that. I'm in the happy dream. And so
well, that's good. It means that you've
up.
corrected to a high degree. But if you started resisting and denying the spirit, then you would start to get that, because that's the consequence of the ego's thought system.
Yeah, so if I had to stay non-resistant, that's the key, isn't it? This morning when I was clearing on at one moment, after I'd cleared it, I went into a state of not needing to breathe, not knowing I wasn't the body, and it was I wouldn't say it was absolutely in the oneness, but it was like I was very clear of the truth, and it's there for quite a while, and it was just like I was kind of coming out of it a bit and thinking, oh, I'm not breathing, and just being happy with not breathing, knowing I didn't need to.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting kind of interim state.
Yeah. And you start transcending the physical limits. You don't need to breathe. It's not a drama. You just observe that, and then at some point, I suppose, you started breathing again. It's not life threatening, because you haven't identified yourself as a body. To not breathe is not freaking you out. And so it's like you're not really a body. So
it's interesting.
Whether you breathe or whether you breathe or not. We use the breathing techniques and the breath awareness just to open the channel. It's another way of opening that channel and allowing that spirit to come through into your awareness, which is the value of it. Just another tool. Okay, so that's the teaching on consciousness, which really goes to the core of the teaching. We've got to look at the metaphysics then very clearly, which hopefully you've done, clarified that. And once you understand the metaphysics, then the application is easy, isn't it? Relatively easy. That's why there's a value in studying the text and kind of thing, because it clarifies things, and you go, okay, I'm clearer about what's what and which reality is which, and that will make me more able to let go more quickly and more easily. Okay, so any questions on that? There's some, if you want to dive deeper, there was a whole session on it. I think we spent half an hour on it. Protocol was with John and Sue a year ago, exactly around this time, so you can go and listen to that recording. There's David Icke, great, lovely little 7-minute clip, which you can listen to, and interesting. He's actually he's actually a spiritual teacher. His conspiracy theories are part of the spiritual teaching. He's just using that as a tool to awaken people from the dream. That's his real function, which you can see clearly when he does these kinds of teachings. He's really trying to wake people up from their sleep. Just using the current issues, how the ego works in the world to do that. So look at this is insane. highlighted, and then that can be very helpful in helping us to make another choice. Okay, everyone, have you done exercise 1 and 2? Just a bit of housekeeping. Have you done exercise 1 and 2? So give number 3 a bash, page 45 of the course manual. Give that a go, and turn across there. 45. Where are we? It's let's do the 16 boxes exercise. How many boxes can you see? See there? Just write down your first answer initially, and then look again and see if you can see more, and see what comes up. See how many boxes you can see. It's a little exercise in perception again. Okay, so I think that leads us nicely into today's lesson. Or should we do the? We got time to do the 8th pathway and then go into the lesson. What's your timing like, everyone?
Going at
8th
3.
pathway. Huh?
I'm going at 3.
3. Okay, so we'll look at the lesson then, shall we? Let's go back to the email because I've got it in here. That's, by the way, it's nice preparation for the naming your game, flipping your flop exercise we're going to do. That's coming up Sunday next week, so that's a good preparation video to watch if you'd like to clear yourself up, or you could just go, okay, I'm just going to surrender and just go through the process. I'm in your hands, Spirit. It's is what it is. All right, so let's have a look at the lesson. These thoughts do not mean anything. So let's ask someone else to read. Susie, if you can read the lesson for us.
These thoughts do not mean anything. They are like the things I see in this room or place.
These thoughts do not mean anything. Okay, so many. This is unlike the preceding ones. You want to read the first paragraph?
And like the preceding ones, these exercises do not begin with the idea for the day. In these practice periods, begin with noting the thoughts that are crossing your mind for about a minute. Then apply the idea to them. If you are already aware of unhappy thoughts, use them as subjects for the idea. Do not, however, select only the thoughts you think are bad. You will find, if you train yourself to look at your thoughts, that they represent such a mixture that, in a sense, none of them can be called good or bad. This is why they do not mean anything.
Oh, so does that resonate with you?
Yes, and I did do that today, and it's made it so much clearer.
Yeah.
And then having the pigs, when I was doing stuff, and then I realised, no, they're flying pigs, let them go. But that's really good, yeah. Because I noticed that even when I was writing, I think Sally suggested writing yesterday or something, but I noticed when I write, it's a mixture. It's not good or bad. It's just, they really don't mean anything. It's like wasteful thoughts, aren't they?
Yeah, idle thoughts, he calls them. Just this is what most people spend their lives doing, just thinking these idle thoughts, thinking, and that covers over their true awareness, which is beyond thought. So, in Rene Descartes, actually, that's the thinker by Rodin, sort of points to this the Western philosophy was founded, really, one of the founding kind of principles was I think, therefore I am. French guy called Rene Descartes, philosopher, was like, okay, so I think, therefore I am. It's like, well, if I can think, therefore I am, it proves my existence. But actually, that's not the ultimate truth, is it? Right? I am I am, therefore I can think, would be closer to the truth. The I am is primary, right? I have awareness before thought. And we can observe that if you go into true awareness beyond thought, which maybe Descartes didn't do, he didn't know how to do that yet, then you can observe that there's just awareness and it's going on without thought. So it's not related to thought. I think, therefore I am was coming from a lower perspective. He hadn't tapped into his true awareness yet fully. But yet that has come to be a kind of founding philosophical statement for our civilization. I think, therefore I am. And so we think all the time, thinking, and we think, therefore that's confirming our existence, and this is a good thing. It's actually denying our true awareness. Okay, and then he's just saying, don't make exceptions. So, someone want to read number 2, orally, or Christine?
Yeah. In selecting the subjects for the application of today's idea, the usual specificity is required. Do not be afraid to use good thoughts as well as bad. None of them represents your real thoughts, which are being covered up by them. The good ones are but shadows of what lies beyond, and shadows make sight difficult. The bad ones are blocks to sight and make seeing impossible. You do not want either. Either.
So this is the first exercise that we're dealing with thought. Previous ones were about visual perception, sense perception, dealing with thought here. And so he says it's a major exercise. It will be repeated from time to time in somewhat different form as we go through the mind training workbook. He repeats it again in lesson 10 in a slightly different form. So the aim is to train you in the first steps toward the goal of separating the meaningless from the meaningful. Okay, you must make that distinction in your thoughts. First attempt in the long-range purpose of learning to see the meaningless as outside you and the meaningful within. And only what is within you is meaningful, the truth of who you are, your true awareness. It's also the beginning of training your mind to recognize what is the same and what is different. It's exercises in discernment, in making choice, right-minded decisions, and that's what he's training us. When we apply the exercise, do the exercise, then all of this training is happening. We don't have to worry about that. That will happen by default when we do the exercise. Okay, so any questions on that? Otherwise, I'll take you into a quick meditation about him. We said he's got 5 minutes, so we'll practice it in a few minutes and actually do the exercise he suggests. All right, so just making yourself comfortable. Nice meditation posture. Close your eyes. Breathing in to the nostrils. Notice how the stomach rises and the chest rises and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clench the sphincter muscles. Usually lock the energy in. Draw the energy up your spine into your heart center. Draw it up into the crown of your head. Pausing at the top of the inhale. So just observe, scan your mind, noticing any thoughts, emotions, body sensations going on, particularly anything that feels negative, limiting, contracted, constricting in any way, shape, or form. Just breathe into that. And just now apply the idea. So whatever thoughts are going on in your mind, look at those. Whatever the central figure or event is that it contains, say to yourself this thought about. Like things I see in this room, and you can open your eyes briefly, just go look around as you say that. Like the things I see in this room, it's also, in other words, false, it's illusion. Does not mean anything because it's illusory. That's what you're telling your mind. So exhale on the truth of that, and have a sense of just blowing away the breeze of your breath. Letting it go, breathing it out, and nothingness that it really is. And you find yourself in this calm, empty, open, spacious awareness. It's a nice, peaceful, calm state beyond thought. Just awareness arising. If there's any thoughts arising, just remind yourself that this thought about whatever it is doesn't mean anything at all. It's all false. So do not give it a meaning that it doesn't have. And feel the release as you do that. Exhale out to help with that release. Blow it out and rest in the peace of pure formless awareness. Nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, nothing else to think about. Rest in this thoughtless awareness. Beyond thought lies your true awareness. Just observe the breath as you sink into this awareness. In and out through your nose. And breath take you into this deeper awareness, deeper and deeper with each breath. Nothing else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. There's really no need for thought. Just rest in this awareness beyond thought for the next couple of minutes of deep contemplative silence. So just gently coming back, some awareness of body, breath, senses, the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in. Noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And again, scan your mind and observe your thoughts. Whenever thoughts are arising, just name it, say this thought about whatever the central person or event is that you're thinking about. Thought about whoever, whatever, does not mean anything. It's like the things I see in this room. So exhale, blow it all out, open your eyes. As you exhale it all out, empty yourself of thought. And you just look around in this calm, quiet, clear state of awareness. And recognize that just like nothing you see means anything, nothing you think means anything. The principle applies to both your inner and your outer world, to both the domain of sense perceptions and your thoughts about those sense perceptions. This is what Yeshua's doing. He's saying, let's go to the fundamental building blocks of your so-called reality, which is your sense perceptions, which you see and feel and hear, touch, taste. And then we're going to look at your thoughts about those sense perceptions. And he's going to teach us that all of it does not mean anything. We've given it all the meaning that it has for us. We really don't understand anything that we see or perceive or think about because it's all false. So it doesn't mean anything. And so just notice as you look around the room and you observe everything in this state of knowing that nothing means anything, that you're actually very peaceful, very calm. The mind is at peace, you're not thinking, just perceiving things but without interpretation, and that's a very peaceful state to be in. And then the deeper meaning reveals itself. The deeper meaning is that you're always at peace. A true state is a state of peaceful awareness, loving awareness. And there's no need to misinterpret, misperceive, create all kinds of mental and emotional drama when you can just stay in this thoughtless awareness. So use the idea, Yeshua says, for a particular thought that you recognize as harmful. In the day, if something comes in and it's clearly a thought that's harmful, maybe it's an attack thought, you thinking you're being attacked or attacking someone else, that's an example of a fearful thought, also not a helpful thought. Fear and attack go together. So you can apply it to any idea that you recognize as harmful, but it's not a substitute for the more random application. So whatever thought, it applies to, seemingly bad thoughts, seemingly neutral thoughts. There are no neutral thoughts, as we'll learn later. None of them are really good or bad, they're just meaningless. So he's asking us to just apply it to all of our thoughts indiscriminately. And he says, don't do it for more than a minute or two because our minds aren't trained yet, so we have a tendency to become pointlessly preoccupied. Since these exercises are the first of their kind, you may find the suspension of judgment connection with thoughts particularly difficult because we're used to believing our thoughts. That's our reality. I think something and I believe it's true. But he's saying to us, it's asking us to question that, this exercise. Or maybe it's not true. Maybe it's actually meaningless. So again, if you don't fully believe this, there's resistance. He says that's all okay, that's normal. Just do the exercise, practice, and do it three or four times today. So if you did one this morning, you've done one now. If you join this evening, we'll do another one as part of our meditation. That'll be 3. If you want to do another one sometime this afternoon or evening for bed, you can. And I've given you a recording to help you. So if you listen to that recording, click on there, it will play for you. So 11 minutes. So it's a little meditation. I'm also posting this meditation to the group, so you have another version of it, which will be about 15-16 minutes. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the practice, the meditation, and the lesson for this session. What I'd like to do now is let's just have a quick look at today's pathway. Moving through these 12 pathways, we're on the 8th pathway, which is part of interacting with others. So let's go there, 7th pathway. Okay, so everyone's still with me?
Yeah.
Good for another. So 7th pathway, let's just recap. Remember, this is all about interacting with others, these pathways 7 to 9. So a little recap on the 7th pathway. If someone can read the bold there. I open myself.
I open myself generally to all people by being willing to fully communicate my deepest feelings, since hiding in any degree keeps me stuck in my illusion of separateness from other people.
Yeah, so that was the 7th pathway.
Mm.
But not hiding, being open in your communication, to avoid getting stuck in the illusion of separateness. You notice if you hide and don't communicate, then you feel separate and alone, don't you?
Mm.
So the 7th pathway counters that. And then the 8th one, Susie, if you want to read that as well, kind of they all interlock and one leads into another. So the 7th kind of leads into the 8th one.
I feel with loving empathy the problems of others without getting caught up emotionally in their predicaments that are offering them messages they need for their growth.
Okay. Feels loving empathy. Problems of others. So empathy, there's a difference between sympathy and empathy, which you'll go into. And that's an important distinction to realize that, you know, empathy is okay, but sympathy is not. So yeah, here's a teaching on empathy and the difference between empathy and sympathy. Yeah, let's ask, actually you read there's only a couple of us, so read the next paragraph. It is important that you learn.
It is important that you learn to feel the problems of other people with loving empathy without getting caught up emotionally in their predicaments. Empathetic understanding, yes. Pity and commiseration, no.
Okay, so this is it's very relevant because we have, you know, there's people with predicaments in our lives, difficulties, challenges, and it's easy to get caught up in the drama and go, oh, poor you, and oh, shame, and you know, if you've been part of those kinds of conversations, what happens? What does that do to your energy state and theirs? It makes the situation real, doesn't it? It confirms the reality of whatever the problem is. So it's not actually helpful. It actually just entrenches the problem. So sympathy is making the problem real, going, oh, poor you, shame, and actually perpetuating the person's state of mind, the problem, and their usually some kind of victim identity and attachment to the problem, which isn't really helping them to get out of the problem. Whereas empathy, empathetic understanding, it's like the Holy Spirit, remembrance of perfect love, just observing it. Okay, I understand where you're at. You've got some difficulties. I can see that. And you're obviously challenged by it. But I don't buy into it emotionally. I don't let that pull me down into the same kinds of emotions as you may be experiencing. I stay in my higher awareness. So I just observe. I'm in the witness perspective. I observe and I understand why you feeling that way, why you may be behaving that way, but I don't share in the emotions. I don't let you pull me down there. So use an analogy, it's like someone's drowning. You want to save them, you don't dive in the water with them and let them pull you down. You stay in the boat and you pull them up to your level. You understand their predicament. Okay, you're drowning. Well, I'll reach down a hand and I'll pull you up into this higher awareness. But I have to be in that awareness to do that. I can't do it if I go into the water of the emotions in this case, and I drown with you, and I let you pull me down into that. Then both of us drown. Does that resonate? Does that make sense? Okay, so next paragraph. Let's ask someone else to read. So Aurelie or Christine. Christine, you haven't read. How about you read? That'd be nice for us. Empathy means?
Empathy means that you stay centered and high and loving whenever you are around them. So they are playing out their addictions.
You just skipped a whole section there. I don't know why. Empathy means that when you empathize.
Empathy
start from
means
the top
when
of the paragraph.
you empathize with the predicaments of other people, you silently send out the vibration. Yes, I know, I've been there too. Empathy means that you understand the duality and separation they are creating in themselves by rejecting what is here and now in their lives, but you do not get caught up in that poignant drama. Empathy means that you stay centered and high and loving whenever you are around them, for they are playing out their addictions, suffering because of them, and hopefully picking up the messages life is offering them. You learn not to give gifts that you
no, pause. Yeah, pause. We'll just discuss that. So, any thoughts on that? Some great teaching in there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you do all the time. And keeping your own center is not to get drawn into the drama but just holding space for them and allowing them to play out their addictions of suffering, because hopefully picking up messages. Suffering because of them, not to suffer because of them, and not to pick up messages life is offering them.
And this is particularly relevant, but maybe challenging if you have kids, because you have to watch that playing out and not get involved in the drama. Oh, poor, I want to save you. You've got to let them go through it and learn the lessons.
Yeah, that's hard.
So, because you've got a special relationship and an attachment there, and you naturally want to prevent them from suffering. Especially mothers, have that mother instinct. But you're not doing them any favors if you play the pity game and you go, "Oh, poor you, like, shame, darling," and you give them the sympathy, because it just reinforces the pattern, and actually you're keeping them stuck in that pattern. So it's applying it irrespective. It can be your sons, daughters, partners, close relationships, or it could just be friends, tenants. You can witness that. You can do this with everyone. And so what you're actually then doing through this, if you treat everyone the same, you are undoing your own special attachments. Do you see that? You're undoing your belief in the special relationship because you treat everyone the same with empathy, but not sympathy. And you start realizing they are actually all the same. Everyone's actually just, it's one mind, one awareness waking up to itself through this process of at-one-ment, which plays out, their addictions and whatever the karma is must play out in order for them to learn. So it's all necessary. Your children came here not to have a perfectly happy life, because no one does. They came here to play out their karma and learn from it and be able to free themselves from it, like we all did. And you can't prevent those lessons from happening. That's the nature of life. Okay, any other thoughts on that paragraph? No?
No.
Is everyone clear on the difference between empathy and sympathy?
Yes.
Yeah, so next paragraph, let's ask orally to read that one. You learn not to give gifts.
You learn not to give gifts that you cannot emotionally afford to give. When you resent helping someone, this creates obligation, duality, and separation. You cannot psychologically afford to give such help, and the recipient cannot afford to receive it.
Okay. Makes sense?
Yeah, I think so.
You resent helping someone, creates obligations, duality, and separation. Recipient cannot afford to receive it. So if you resent helping someone, they don't do it. So no.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
work on your
absolutely.
work
Yeah.
on the resentment. Don't give it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all had. You've had gifts given, or things done in a state of not, really wanting to. I think we've all experienced that, and it doesn't feel good, does it?
Yeah.
The recipient doesn't. It's not really a gift. Recipient cannot afford to receive it because it's not actually love. It's fear, hatred, attack in disguise. You give it, but there's all this resentment. Well, it's not really a gift. Actually, it's you're giving the person attack. Anything done with the spirit of resentment is actually attacking them. So if you're in that state, you've got to back off and go, okay, I need to correct my mind first before I do anything. When I'm in a clear state, I'm in loving awareness, then I can help someone. So next one, when you can help someone, we carry on already.
When did I mute? No, when you can help someone, when you can help someone with a feeling of love and oneness, you just do it because it feels good to you. When you feel oneness with another, there is no giver or receiver. There's just us here. It's like one hand washing another. You are just letting energy flow through you. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's the flow.
Of
It's
love.
because you're coming into the awareness of one. There's one mind. There's one awareness. There's
Mhm.
no sense of me and and the receiver. It collapses that duality. Just us here. So there's one mind, really. One hand washing another. So it's actually the same. It's the same awareness washing itself, just letting energy flow through you. That's how it feels when you're ultimately you've collapsed the subject object perceptual duality. It's just one mind helping itself, and I can experience that. So that's how it should feel. He's giving us a clue. So if you do it in this way, then that's help that is going to be very helpful to the other person.
Yeah, I always do my best to stay in my truth. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and
Doesn't
then
feel good, don't do it.
yeah, and then maybe you need to then say no temporarily, and
Yeah.
then correct. If you're not in
Exactly.
a right state of mind, correct
Yeah.
your mind first. So that's always primary in this teaching is manage your own mental and emotional state first. Get that in order, and then you can help others. It's a bit like the airplanes that we say, if the oxygen masks come down, put yours on first.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you get your own house in order, you're okay, and then
Yeah.
you can help others. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Rather than being in that situation. I'm desperate for oxygen myself, and I'm trying to help someone else, and I'm fumbling because I'm panicking myself. You can't really be very helpful.
Mhm.
So manage your own mental and emotional state first, and then once you're in a clear state, loving awareness, then you can ask for the guidance. What should I say? What should I do? And it will then come from that loving awareness.
Mhm.
It'll be a very different quality of action and help. So how can I be truly helpful? It's the prayer of the miracle worker. Well, it means I must correct my mind first to be truly helpful. To be truly helpful, I must first let go or forgive of whatever the blocks are between me and that person. And then I can be truly helpful and of service. I can let the Holy Spirit flow through me.
Mhm.
Okay. And then last one, life works best. Let's ask Jackie to read that. The life works best when you love, serve, and allow. Or is it Elaine?
Maybe it's Elaine, I think.
Elaine, I get confused. Yeah, admin's
Oh,
iPhone.
yeah. Sorry, yes, I'm here. Your
Yeah.
life works best when you love, serve, and allow your loving energy to flow, not from a lower consciousness motivation of I am helping you or I will save you, but simply from the awareness that Spirit gave this energy to me and it feels good to pass it on.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That makes
Any
sense.
thoughts on that?
Very clear.
Yeah. Allow your loving energy to flow. So this is the flow state. From loving awareness, you allow it to flow into your words, direct your thoughts, perceptions, your words, your actions. And it's really love extending through you. It's not really you doing it. It's the love of God extending through you to this other person or people.
Mm.
The spirit, pure formless awareness, gave this energy to me. It feels good to pass it on. It's not really mine. It's the one awareness we all share, and it wants to extend through you. We're doing a lot of studying that in the text, extension. extension of the energy rather than creation. And that, that's in alignment with this idea of, it's the loving awareness that is just flowing through you. It's extending through you into the world to others, and you just allow it. You don't block it. And then you experience its benefits. As love flows through you, you experience love. You experience more of it. You become, more rooted in it. That becomes your day. So we must allow it to extend through us, not block the flow. If you block the outward flow, then you can't really know God. Why Yeshua said, you must love God as with all your heart and all your mind, and then you must love your neighbor as yourself. Two commandments. Because if you block the flow and you don't love your neighbor as yourself, then you block the flow and you're going to cut yourself off from God, your source. You're not going to be experiencing that loving awareness. So obvious. But yet, traditional religions miss it. There's this obvious connection. How you treat others determines your state of mind, and that's your connection with your source in your own awareness. So just allow it to flow through, then you experience the loving awareness flowing through you, and then you're rooted in that loving awareness. That becomes your normal state, which is a much happier state than the disconnected, separated state that the ego has invented. Okay. So any other thoughts, comments, questions on this? Feels loving empathy. Problems of others' life getting caught up emotionally in their predicaments that are offering them messages they need for their growth. It's a great one to remember, especially if you're dealing with someone who's in some kind of problem, drama, trauma, crisis. This is the way to interact with them. From the perspective of oneness, it requires you must let go, but then, the empathy would be how you actually engage with them. What's the quality of the interaction like? All of this, at the foundation of every pathway, what I will say is the idea of forgiving or letting go. To really apply this pathway, you need to let go of your ego. Okay. Any other thoughts on that? Comments, questions?
No, thank you, Johnny. Thank you very much. Good session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay. So just a bit of housekeeping. We've got another session in about an hour and a half, starting at 5 p.m. UK time. That's 6 o'clock your time already. So join us then for the text. It's on healing.
Interesting.
It's release from fear, which should be a good one.
Oh, yay. Bring it on.
Bring it on. Yeah, healing is release from fear.
That's a good one.
So join us then, and then tomorrow. Just wondered, could any of you do a session earlier in the morning? I've just got an opportunity to go and watch my son play a football tournament, and it would mean a lot to him. So could we do a session at, say, 10 o'clock UK time?
Yeah,
I can, Johnny. Yeah.
That would be 11.
That
would be 11 your time already.
Oh, 11? Okay.
Yeah, it'll be 11 your time, 10 UK time. We'll just do a couple of hours, but maybe we won't do a full share, and then I'll probably need to go at about 12:30 or something. So
yeah, that's fine for me.
Yeah,
fine for me too.
Yeah, all right. And Elaine, does that work for you?
I'm not sure because of my work, but I'll
Yeah.
try. Otherwise, I'll see the recording. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll do it tomorrow at at 10 a.m. I'll obviously post that on the group tomorrow morning, and I'll let everyone know again, and it's will be an email. But 10 a.m. UK, 11
My
SA.
time. Mhm.
11 your
11
time.
euro, I mean, Paris.
Yeah, 11 Paris time, 12 o'clock South African time. South Africans on the call, but anyone listening to recording. So that's tomorrow morning, and then evening, if we can start. I'm not quite sure how long I'll be for the afternoon. So if we could start it at say 6 UK time instead of 6 p.m. So it's 7 p.m. your time, do the evening session. That just creates a little bit of a
French
window.
time.
It'll
7
be
p.m. French time. I mean,
yes, 7 p.m. French. Yeah.
okay. Sounds good.
Tomorrow evening. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, but hopefully see you a bit later in about hour and a half for the evening session. We'll do the text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Right, thank you, Jono.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
See you
everyone.
later.
Bye.
See you.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Namaste.
Bye.
Thanks for joining.
Namaste.